Thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited to have you here and your busy schedule, especially. Can you go ahead and give us a brief introduction?
Absolutely. And I'm thrilled to be here as well. Thank you for the opportunity. So, my name is Christine Hull. I am the principal at Hardaway High School. And I have been in Muskogee County School District now for about 20 years.
Oh, perfect. So, how long have you been the principal at Hardaway?
This is my second year as principal, but I have been a member of the Hardaway family for a very, very long time. I went to school here myself, so I am an alum of Hardaway. And my mother actually taught here for about 17 years. And so I've been, like I said, a part of the Hardaway family since I was a child. So it's nice to come home.
That's so perfect. That's circling back. I love it. So, what other positions have you been in the district?
So I taught English and art history at Northside High School for 10 years. And then I became an assistant principal over curriculum and instruction at Northside for about 3.5 years. And then I moved to a district position, the director of advanced learning and gifted programs. And I also was the director over St. Elmo Center for the Gifted for about 4.5 years. And then I came here to Hardaway as principal.
Yeah, so you will look very familiar to a lot of our faces here at Richards.
I'm
And
sure. Yeah. Some of my St. Elmo students are with you.
yes,
Absolutely. Hi, guys.
yes, and then next year you'll be getting some of our students too through the funnel, which will be awesome as well.
Would
So
love that. We love our Richard students that come here to Hardaway right across the street, right?
yes, we do. It's perfect. This little circle. I love it. So, what type of education or training is required for your career?
So I started as a teacher, which is a typical path for an administrator. And we do have some counselors who've also become administrators. A lot of times counselors who've had time in the classroom, also want to come up through administration. But most administrators start as teachers, and those teachers could also be coaches. For me, I started my education after high school at Georgia Southern University, and I did my bachelor's degree in secondary English education. I got certified as a teacher. And after that, I worked on my master's degree also in secondary English education. And then after my master's degree, I worked on a specialist degree in educational leadership. And that specialist degree is what you have to have in order to become a school-based administrator. So they definitely look for that leadership degree in order to qualify you to be an administrator.
Awesome. So, where did you go for your master's and your specialist?
So Columbus State University, I was teaching, here in town. And so that was just the natural choice to go to Columbus State to keep me here in town without having to travel. And when I was doing my degrees, they did not have online options. So it was, much more difficult than it is now with the online options that we have to explore different universities and colleges that do offer those degrees online. So, had I been offered that opportunity, I might have gone to a different university. But Columbus State has wonderful programs and they treated me really well. Same thing with Georgia Southern. Can't say enough good things about those institutions. Really well prepared. So
That's perfect. So, you touched on this a little bit, but what led you to this career of becoming a principal?
I never had plans to be a principal, to be honest. I really did not even have plans to be a teacher. I did not want to be a teacher. My mother and father were both teachers, and I saw how difficult that could be and how time consuming, because teachers pour all of their hearts and a lot of their time into their students and into teaching and planning and all of the things that are extracurricular. And I just decided I didn't want to do that because I was going to be a doctor or a physical therapist. And I got into school really as a pre-med major. And I started working with children as a voluntary service, part of my pre-med plans. And I had taken a class in high school, which we have here at Hardaway, which is the teaching as a profession class. And it's a pathway now, a career pathway. And that class had made such an impression on me that I thought maybe I might want to do this whole thing called education. So I was kind of going into college with some questions. And as I got into my college courses, I just really figured out that I loved watching kids learn and figuring out ways to help them learn better and to reach their own goals and their own dreams. And that was what excited me more. So rather than the healthcare aspect. So I switched majors and I switched into, and I love to read and I love to write. And so I was really attracted to English as a subject. And I was really good at English in high school. I was not so good at math. That was not my gift. So I just kind of put those two things together and I thought I would try it. And that class that I took here at Hardaway when I was a senior, which we still have, really set me on that path to teaching.
Yes, that is beautiful. I love that you said that because, we've been talking to our kids, talking about how it's not just one path to where you want to go. You may think you want to be something in middle school, high school. It just, even when you become an adult, things change, like second,
That's
third,
right.
fourth, fifth careers.
I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. So
me too. So what does a typical day consist of in your field of being a principal and being in education?
So a typical day for me is I get here, 7:30 or before, and really just kind of sit down and take a minute to meditate, pray, think about the day ahead, and just have that moment before all the students get here. Then, click off a couple of emails in the morning to make sure I got all the morning announcements in and all that stuff and nothing's left over from the night before. And then my favorite part is greeting students for the day, walking through the hallways, saying good morning. Our teachers are in the hallways greeting students, and that's always nice to see them. So you guys know the buses sometimes take a little while to get here. So we go out to the bus loop, we do all that. And, really, it's just a series of how do we help people with issues and my day is a whole day of problem solving, right? So what's going on and how can we make it better? How can we fix it? I love to visit classrooms. I love to go into the classroom and actually see the learning happening. Some of my job includes, evaluating teachers and going in and speaking to students about their experiences with the learning. So we do that. We do lunch duty in the middle of the day and, go to the cafeteria. We have a wonderful cafeteria here at Hardaway. I must say it is the best in the district. Everybody knows that. We have the best chicken day. I'm sorry, anybody can tell you differently. It's not true. Miss Edwards is our fantastic cafeteria manager. She's a wonderful staff. So we like to hang out in the cafeteria at lunch. And then we have a couple of periods left in the end of the day. Our afternoons get busy, some meetings. And then everybody, we go outside and everybody leaves and we wave goodbye. So really that's a typical day. I love it because it changes all the time. Like it's very fast paced. I know 2 days are the same. Mm-hmm. Can't always predict what's going to happen. And I really like that. So
yes. So you touched on this just now, but what do you enjoy most about your career?
I did say I like the change and the problem solving, and that keeps me going. But honestly, it's the relationships. It's the relationships that I build with other staff members. They make me laugh all day. I mean, we laugh, we have a good time. We're serious about our work, but if you're not having fun doing what you're doing, then why are you doing it? So we like to have a good time and we work hard, play hard, right? Mm-hmm. And those relationships are really special and really important and make me keep wanting to come back to work. Same thing with our students. And we have so many wonderful students. We have so many options for our students, whether it be IB. Everybody here is IB. No student is not IB at Hardaway High School because we have the MYP program, just like you do at Richards. Mm-hmm. So our 9th and 10th graders are all MYP, and then they can go up to IB if they want. So watching students really engage with each other and talk about important conversations, and that is fun for me. I love to see kids think and really process like how they're going to grow up in the world. And so that's fun to talk to students and have those relationships with them about not only what's going on in school, but what's happening out in their world.
Yes, that's beautiful because when we went in to do youth science with the kids and talk about careers, we were talking about make your passions, your interests, the things that you like, turn them into your career because when you love what you do, it doesn't feel like you're working. Like, yes, it's hard to get up in the morning, but once you get there, you're like, I love this.
That's right. That getting up in the morning and going to bed at night are the two hardest parts of my day. So I totally understand that.
That's perfect. So what are some challenges that you face in your role?
Honestly, and I think every administrator would probably agree with this on some level. It's been the last 2 years of the pandemic. It's been really switching what education looks like and changing with something that we don't really have any control over. Not we're used to as administrators kind of feeling like we're in control of what happens in our school. And with this outside pandemic pushing into our schools, into our homes, that has been the biggest challenge lately is maneuvering around that in a way that keeps everybody safe. I like this. I mean, I know everybody is in a debate about this, and it's one of those things where it's just one more layer that we have to really figure out what's best for us as humans, us as learners, and as people who work with children and kids who work with us as adults. And it's just it's a challenge. It's definitely, I think, made us better in some respects. I think we've embraced that challenge, and I think we've overcome it in a lot of ways. And it's something that we'll take those lessons with us into the future.
Yes.
But that's been the biggest challenge.
Perfect. So how do you see your career and like your school evolving in the next 10 years?
So my personal career, I am a woman of faith. So I really leave that up to my following of my faith and with wherever God wants me to serve. That's personal for me, and I think everybody should find whatever that is for them, that where you can really rest in that knowledge of moving in the right direction. And so for me personally, I'll go wherever God wants me to serve, and I stay in contact with that portion of myself, and I take care of that in myself so that I make sure that I'm on the right track. So I don't really have a vision for me professionally other than to keep serving where I'm serving, doing the best job I can, kind of the bloom where you're planted philosophy, right? And then for Hardaway, my dream for Hardaway is that we will have an IB continuum from Clubview all the way in pre-K, all the way up through Richards, all the way through senior year, where students can come for an incredible IB education that's not offered in a lot of places. We're the only ones in Muskogee County, and we're very few throughout the nation of that kind of prestigious education that's for everybody. It's not just for certain students, it's for everybody. Everybody deserves that. So my son is at Clubview, and he was in pre-K last year, he's in kindergarten this year. He's getting that IB education, my own personal child. So I kind of see it on both ends, right? Like, so my goal is to see us all collaborate and become a community of IB learners from all the way from, pre-K through graduation. And so that when our students graduate, they all graduate having some continuum of this very powerful education, where that when they leave us, they can go anywhere they want: military, college, into a career, into a service industry. Like, those choices are available for our students. That is what I want us to do together.
Yes, that's beautiful. So what kind of person do you think is most successful in your field?
Somebody who is flexible, and can have a lot of empathy and insight into building good relationships, listening. I think in my career, you have to do more listening than talking sometimes, and really trying to put yourself in the position of a student or a teacher or a parent to understand how to help problem solve. I think someone who's a critical thinker, because it doesn't always, like you said, follow one path. Like, there's many options. And so how do we choose between the best, good options, better options, bad options? Like, we need to be able to figure that out. I think also somebody that bottom line, you have to like people. You've got to like working with people, whether they be young people or professionals. You have, I think, a people person. Now, I've seen wonderful administrators who were not necessarily people, but they knew how to surround themselves with others who could fill in those gaps. And so knowing your strengths and weaknesses as a leader I think that's important. And you have to know, those things that you're not good at so that you can then hire people that can balance that out for you. I think that's also important.
Mhm.
I think those types of people who know their strengths and know their weaknesses and can be honest about those. And just having grit to get up and grind every day, because that's what it takes. Perseverance.
Oh, yes. Perfect. So what does communication look like in your field?
That's all it is. It's all about communication. That's all I do all day long is communicate with people, whether it be in writing or whether it be verbally. I mean, I do not stop communicating. There's very little downtime. And that's what I said in the morning. That's really the first thing I do is I have to communicate with myself and I communicate with God. Like we gotta have to have that conversation, because the rest of the day is just back to back to back conversations, communication, and your words matter.
Mhm.
So what you say in any given moment has a big impact, whether you believe it or not. And even in this interview, the words that I'm saying right now, how I say them, I have to process quickly what message is it that I want to send in this communication with you and with your students and whoever else might be watching this.
Mhm.
So it doesn't stop. And learning how to communicate positively, for a positive impact early on, how to present yourself, how to make sure you're getting your message across in the way that you intend. Those are all skills that we try to teach our students and that we work on continually as adults.
Perfect. So what kind of technology do you use in your field?
Everything that a teacher would use. We really have to be very familiar with, how our smart boards are working, Canvas, everything in education is constantly changing. And sometimes we feel behind the times technologically, but it really is our job to figure out, the ways students learn, because a lot of our students are connected to technology far beyond what we are. So we really have to try to tap into where our students, like for example, we have a lot of interest in gaming. So we have a gaming club, we have an esports club, and we have a new class coming next year that is game design. And so we're really trying to look at that technology. Our robotics team has it's going to nationals now. They're very accomplished. I know, and they're very new. So we're
Congratulations.
excited. But that technology, we have to be very aware of the fields that our students need to go into.
Mhm.
A lot in technology that is very profitable and interesting for students to look into. Cybersecurity, to look into as a career. And so we have to be familiar with all of that technology, even if we're not experts, to at least know something that's out there.
Yes, that's perfect. So, last question. What kind of classes would you recommend for a middle school student or a high school student if they're interested in your career or one similar?
So I would say if you're interested in education, just the broad field of education, not just necessarily administrative leadership, but in middle school, I think it's a time of exploration. I think as the nice thing about education is it encompasses every field, because where do you think we train people for the workforce?
Mhm.
In school. So right here. So we can touch that's the coolest thing about being an educator. We touch every single profession. No other profession can say that, right? So we as educators touch every other profession. So I think in middle school, it's exploring, figure out what you're good at, figure out what you like, what you don't like. And you can translate that into a career in education. When you get to high school, I highly suggest, if you're interested in education, that you embark on what we call teaching as a profession. It's a pathway. And so it's 3 classes, and we have that here at Hardaway. A couple of other high schools have it too, where you can really get into what is it about teaching what skills do I need, what dispositions do I need, and it takes you through that and gives you some field experiences with working with, like, our teaching as profession students go to Club View and they work with the younger children on reading strategies for those who are struggling, math strategies for those who struggle. It's not just reading to kids, it's actually teaching them. And it's really very cool. So I highly suggest checking out that pathway, and seeing what's out there.
Yes, that's perfect. So do you have any last words of wisdom or advice for our students here at Richards?
Just keep your heads up, keep plugging along. You know, like I said, perseverance and grit are 99% of it. Keep showing up every day. You know, really, I would say middle school is a tough time, and we know that. And it's when you're trying to figure yourself out and figure out, you know, who your friends are and where you're going to go for high school, and there's a lot of decisions to make. And, you know, really, there's a lot of pathways to success, like we talked about earlier. So I would also say, you know, find somebody that you can talk to and confide in a positive way, somebody that inspires you, a mentor, who's kind of been through things that you might be going through and can lead you in the right direction. Your friend groups are very important to make sure you surround yourself with positive friends, because moving into high school, if you've done those things, it's really going to help you when you get to high school. And we're excited to see you, and we're so excited for those of you who are going to come on down to 2901 College Drive.
Yay. Well, thank you so much for making time for us again.
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me, and y'all just let us know if you need anything. All you got to do is holler.
Yes, perfect.